Namaste and Jai Hind, and it's been a while, but it's good to be back in the saddle with in conversation with people who are doing phenomenal work on causes that they believe is important for not just the survival of of Bharat, but also the continuance of our itihasa, our traditions, our ancient knowledge systems, and more importantly, our own culture. So, one of the aspects in our scriptures, which I have also read, is about knowing oneself and also knowing the adversary or knowing the other person. So it is often termed as Swayambodha, knowing ourselves, and Shatrubodha. But I never thought that it would be the title of a book. And that's what it is. And the person who's authored it is with me. And it says Swayambodha and Shatrubodha, Hindu view of the self and the world. Right. So Pankaj Saxena, congratulations on the book, and I'm going to
Thank you.
give this. This is your own personal copy. So let's start with Pankaj Saxena. I must say is the co-founder of Brihat.in. He's a researcher, a Hindu thinker, but more importantly, wants to bring to the modern world what ancient Hindu philosophy is and what are the challenges to Hindutva. I will not say Hinduism,
Yeah,
Hindutva,
yeah,
and Sanatan Dharma.
yes.
Okay. But let's start with why did you choose this title, Pankaj, first up? And the other one, I'm very intrigued, is why you chose that Murti.
Yeah. That's so. Thank you, Anand, for inviting me here and choosing to have this conversation. So I chose this title because I wanted the subject matter to be extremely clear by using words which do not need any explanation, which are self-explanatory. Like you said, anyone who hears the word Swayambodha and Shatrubodha, somebody asked that it's written in English. It's going to be coming in Hindi also. But why is it? Why have you used Sanskrit or Hindi words? So words which easily flow between different languages with their meaning is how I chose it. That we have had the tradition of Purva Paksh in our civilization for a very long time. That was not something new to us. But in Purva Paksh, I wanted to differentiate that we are not just critiquing friends or rivals, but on civilizational scale, on the scale of ideologies, you also have enemies. At the level of ideologies, I'm not talking about here individuals or communities, but at the level of ideologies. And that's why I wanted to make sure very much that I wanted to use these words. A lot of people said that, you know, are you shutting off some audience by using these words? I say my way is to make myself and my stand extremely clear and let people gravitate to that point of view by speaking truth from that vantage point, and that's why I chose this title. About the image that I've used here, it's also self-explanatory in a way, but it also needs some explanation. It's the image of Shasti Hast Narsimha, 60-handed Narsimha in a sculpture. It's clicked by my very good friend and a great scholar, Ramkrishna Kongala, who is a scholar of iconography sculpture. This is in Khajuraho Museum. There is no description of this murti, either in the Shastras or any inscription. But as he recognized, it has 60 hands. Imagine a civilization which could have, and you can see the craftsmanship in this, even after all the destruction, you can see the craftsmanship. 30 hands on one side, 30 hands on another. Every hand would have a different ayudha, different weapon in the hand. Imagine the complexity of all of this by carving it out of a single piece. Imagine the civilization which created it. Imagine the civilization which saw it and thought to destroy it. So that's where you have your Swayambodha and Shatrubodha. You have to preserve the civilization which is capable of creating such deep, great art. And you also have to be, you have to warn your society, that society which is capable of creating this art, from the ideological dangers, from those ideas which want to destroy such beautiful art.
This is also symbolic. My interpretation, I thought you would turn around and say this is also perhaps the current state of Hindutva or Sanatan Pratha as you see it.
Yes.
That it's been chopped, destroyed, hurt,
Yes.
dismembered, but it still exists in terms of soul that when somebody looks at it,
Yeah.
one knows what it wants to convey or what
Yes.
it is trying to say.
Yes.
So that's another way.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of times they say there is no supplementary paryay
Yeah.
when they say, no, there's no equivalent
Yeah.
same like word for words like Atma, Bodh.
Yes.
Bodh is understanding, knowing, realizing. All three together is one word.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to translate such
Yes.
terms there.
Yes.
But why Swayam Bodh and not Atma Bodh?
Yeah, that's a very critical,
That's
very
one
important
part.
question.
And why Shatru Bodh?
Yeah.
It could be the other person, need not necessarily be
Yes.
the enemy. So why?
So first question, Swayambodh, why Swayambodh and not Atmabodh? Atmabodh has been discussed in the Shastras again and again. It's the science, Vigyan of knowing thy own self, knowing one's own self through meditation, doing yoga, doing meditation, and finding our own true self. That is Atmabodh. I'm not talking about that here. Swayambodh, when I say, is I am talking from the point of view of Hindu society as a whole. So, how does the Hindu society sees itself? Not the individual. So that's why Atmabodh is would be a part of those individuals who inhabit or constitute Hindu society. But when I say Swayambodh, it's the idea of Hindu society when it reflects upon itself. How does it looks upon itself? So that's why Swayambodh and not Atmabodh. About Shatrubodh, the subtitle might confuse some because it says Hindu view of self and the world. And when I say Swayambodh and Shatrubodh, so they see that either there is just a binary, self and the enemy. This is not so. It was not possible to say everything in the subtitle. But I have created a circle in the book which we can see. Swayambodh circle, Shatrubodh circle, and Mitrabodh circle.
Can you open that page and show it to our viewers also?
Yes, I can.
And then explain it to us. So you've built a circle which says Swayambodh, Shatrubodh, and Mitrabodh.
Mitrabodh.
That means knowing who are your friends, who are inimical to you, and knowing also your own self in terms of your own capabilities and what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yes. Might take one
no, not at all. Please take your time. Since you've marked all the pages and the important flaps, I just thought, and you started with this, so all right, let's take the bull by the horn.
There are 3 major graphs which are in the book.
You also have broken down the content with a particular flow in mind.
Yes. Yeah.
That's nice.
So
you can turn it around for our. That's nice. Okay. So that's the circle.
That's the circle.
Okay.
At the center, of course, is us, our own deep self, or who we are. The second circle, it doesn't immediately translate into the Shatrubodh circle, not the second circle is Mitrabodh, and the outermost circle only is the Shatrubodh. Now, things might not be very clear here, so I'll explain. This is how it is. Our idea of our own selves in Mitra are all the dharmic traditions all over the world, which worship nature, which worship divine in many forms, which monotheists call mistakenly as polytheism. But we worship the divine in many forms. We worship nature. We worship divine feminine. All the traditions in the world which do this, they are our friends, including, let's say, Buddhism, Taoism, Shintoism, the dharmas of Japan, Korea, Sandoism, and China, Southeast Asia, where mostly non-monotheistic religions, religion is a wrong word, non-monotheistic traditions or dharmas have survived. These are our mitra. They are not you. They are not the Hindu idea of oneself, but they are the mitra, they are the friends. Also the tribal religions, natural religions of Africa, of South America, those few which survive in Europe and North America, they are all our friends. The enemy ideologies are those prophetic monotheistic ideologies which say that only they and their way of worship is the only correct way of worship, and every other sect is a wrong way of doing things, and they are so wrong that it's their duty to convert them or to destroy them. So they are obviously your enemy because they declare their intent very much clearly in their religious books also, that not only are you wrong, you are so wrong because you worship the Satan that it's our sacred duty to destroy your tradition. They also say not individuals, they say destroy your religious dharmic tradition. So if somebody is declaring with a clear intent that their goal is to destroy you, that those ideologies, those religious ideologies, I term as enemies, because it's very clear that what they want to do with you.
Yeah, but the enemy is only as strong as much as one is weak.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there is also this entire understanding of the Hindu way of life, for a better want of a terminology, or Hindutva, the way of life in this Bhubhag, as many would want to say, or what was or what has emanated from what is eternal or Sanatan. So how does a society that seems to have fallen so far away from the tree,
Yeah.
is bound to drift away.
Yeah.
So, should you blame the Shatru, or should we blame ourselves, Swayam, for not having the right understanding?
We have to, when it comes to blame, we have to blame our own selves only in this sense, where are you weak? But at the same time, you also have to know the strengths of the enemy. So here, I'm not blaming the enemy, I'm just showing their strengths and where they are, how they are so strong. What are the ways in which they attack others and destroy others? And in the same vein, I criticize my own society. What are the pitfalls our society which it has fallen in, because of which it is not able to see what the dangers
What are the
that it is.
pitfalls
First of
that you
all,
speak
of course,
about?
unity. That we think still we are like the current issue which is going on. We care about language more, but not about dharma more. We care about our state more, but not about dharma more. We care about sometimes our caste more, sometimes our gender more, sometimes individuals, of course, more, but never we forget the pyramid of priorities, that at the highest is Desh and Dharma. And our own identities, they all exist. The beautiful thing about Sanatan Dharma is we never were in a binary that either the center can exist or the individual can exist. The West swings like a pendulum between two extremes. Either there is a very strong central power, an empire, which destroys individuals and their individual qualities and aptitudes, or there comes an era which is currently going on in Western Europe, where they become so individualistic that they don't care about language, religion, nation, culture at all. So they swing like a pendulum between these two binaries, but we always had a balance. That all of these identities, like that Russian doll structure, can coexist with each other if we just know the hierarchy. Of course, language is important, and we should take pride in whatever language we are in, we are born in. But that should not make us blind to the point where we start colluding with the enemy just because we have some more fight with our own, with another language in another state. If we have that much of clarity, I am not even against jati or caste. They have some useful, structure in society. I'm not I do not favor annihilation of caste or that sort of narrative. But if that is coming, if your own community is coming in way of your country and your dharma, then of course you have to, for that particular time, let it be the second priority or the lesser priority and give it Desh and Dharma the higher priority. If that much clarity is there, this used to be there. Mahabharata and all the texts have these shlokas which say how to resolve dharma sankat. So there are a lot of ways. For gaon, for village, you have to abandon the individual. For country, you have to abandon the city, and this is how they go. And for Atma, for the pursuit of Atmabodh, you have to abandon everything else. So when you
This
see
is part of Bhishma's discourse with
yes,
Yudhishthira
it is there also.
on Rajdharma also.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mahabharata discusses it again and again. It's
Yeah.
also in Chanakya Niti, but in other shastras also. So this pyramid was clear to us, or for a large part of our history, to most of us. Somewhere when the British arrived, because we were battered down for 400-500 years about the medieval Islamic invasion, and then when the British arrived, they were extremely good at colonizing and mentally manipulating. And after that, we forgot all of our priorities. The caste battles that you see, the linguistic battles that you see. Just 2 days ago in a podcast, somebody was asking about how have we come to a situation. Our country never had linguistic battles before 1947. But in the last 7 decades, we have seen them resurfacing again and again.
Yeah.
And every region gives a knee-jerk reaction when it happens. For example, of course, it is bad if somebody hits someone for not speaking Marathi or Kannada, but you also have to understand their point of view. Why do they feel so outraged of why this is happening? So without making those efforts, everyone's going at each other. In those times when Sanskrit was supreme, it would give the central philosophy of Sanatan Dharma to every language and would elevate every language instead of suppressing, oppressing, or destroying it. But what happened in the medieval ages when Sanskrit fell down and Hindi became the lingua franca of north of India, and it imbibed a lot of Persian, Arabic, Turkish words. So that root words of Sanskrit, which are in every language, we broke that connection. And instead, we supplanted something like Hindi, which now derives half of its roots from languages which do not have any cultural connections to Sanatan Dharma or Bharatvarsh. So then we started all the linguistic, these spheres started going their own way. So we have to understand our history, what went wrong in the medieval era and then in the British era. We forgot the pyramid of priorities. We forgot what binds us. That was our dharma. We forgot that, like Sanskrit, the Vedic spirit, All of these things bound us. So a Kannadiga asked me very frankly, and it's one of my favorite states, I've been to every single taluka, and he asked me, how is Hindi the national language? What claim does Hindi have on national language? And he's right. It is lingua franca, and nobody, I don't think, apart from a few fanatics which have problem with everything, if you say that Hindi is a lingua franca, nobody would have a problem with it. Using it in market, for business and all. But if you say it's a national language, people will have questions. What claim does Hindi have just because 60 crore people speak it? Is that the claim? Just because more than one state, but now Telugu is spoken by 2 states, not one. And this is a game you can play. You can break Karnataka into 4 parts and say that Kannada is also spoken by 4 states. So it also has a claim to be the national language. So this we should have understood.
Well, I think somewhere it also stems from the fact that we are a union of many riyasats. We are a union which were not integrated for a long period of time. Like I said, 500-600 years, there was no unity that was there. The other thing is, it's always a two-way street, no, Pankaj?
Yes.
That if you expect a South Indian or someone from Northeast or someone from Jammu Kashmir or someone from coming into the quote-unquote Hindi belt, and you expect that person to speak Hindi, then is it unfair of a person who's living in the South, in the Northeast or there, that the person coming from the Hindi belt makes the effort to at least understand the local language and try and learn the local language, at least not be disrespectful saying ki ja nahi bolta kya kar lega.
Yes.
So this
you can at least be humble and say, I'm sorry, I couldn't so far, but I will try. At least this attitude you should take.
The bhava is the most important. It's not bhasha which is important, it is the bhav which is important. Now, where have we forgotten that? Because there is also this thing, Pankaj, I'm saying this generation, previous generation, perhaps one more generation beyond us, are always going to turn around and say, this happened in the past. All right, all of this happened in the past. So what do I do now? The next generation is going to ask me, what are you going to teach me? How are you teaching me? What is it that you are telling me? You tell me that I must know myself and I must know where I come from, what my roots are, and I must also know those entities which are in a long-term goal who have an objective of finishing my way of life off. Right? Where is this being taught? What is the Svayambodha and Shatrubodha that we are saying?
Nothing.
Do we have any concept of nationhood that is being instilled into us? In our schools? Are we teaching multiple languages, Bharatiya Bhashas in these schools? It's not happening. So, what is the point of writing these books if it's not filtering down to the next generations?
So at some point of time, this has to come in public consciousness so much that they start pressing for the government, for the state to make those requisite changes in society. For example, you talked about nation building. So when we were building in 1947, this current state of nation building, India, there should have been some linguistic cells in every state, in North India also, which would have said that one script and one language of the South or Northeast you have to learn. Just like they have to learn Hindi or English, you also would have to learn. But surprisingly, this is somebody nobody ever thought about. And this is surprisingly, even today, is not much of an issue. People, like you said, they think it should be a one-way street because it's the language of majority. I was asked in the podcast, that person was from North, and they said, but isn't it the language of majority? This is actually one part of, if it had been a majority of 80% in every single state of India, you would have some claim. But if you say that 100% of 4 or 5 states, they don't speak that language.
But the reality is 100% of these 4 or 5 states also don't speak Hindi.
They don't.
They speak Awadhi, Maithili, Bhojpuri, and it's different language. It's not Devanagari.
Hindi is not a language, it's an umbrella. I have written about it and a lot of Hindi walas actually get angry at me. I'm born and brought up in, I love Hindi.
So do I.
Yeah, I am from Gwalior. I am from Madhya Pradesh.
Bhav ka question hai.
But what happened in the north is what you alluded just right now. That Awadhi, Braj, Bundelkhandi, Baghelkhandi, Nimadi, Rajasthani, due to the medieval invasions, all of these bolis would have become bhashas. But they were prevented because the court language and the official language was Persian, Turkish, Arabic. So they couldn't become, they remained at the level of boli. When does a boli become bhasha? For example, after the classical era was over, grunts, great Shastras and texts were written in Kannada, and Kannada was elevated to a very great classical language. Tamil was even before that. Then Malayalam was elevated. Then Telugu and Marathi and Gujarati, all of these languages were elevated. With Hindi, that happened far much later. And all of these languages, because for 500 years they were prevented to become bolis, to become bhashas, so Hindi became that umbrella language which consumed all of these languages. I come from Madhya Pradesh. There is a part Nimad, Purvi Nimad and Pashchimi Nimad. I do not understand 80% of what they say. And yet on map, it will be marked as a Hindi speaking. And I am from that estate. This is my own estate. So this region also has a lot of diversity. So we have to go to history, understand the complexities that happened there. What is the process of a Boli, a dialect becoming a language? Where was it allowed? Where was it prevented? Why was it prevented? And now what do we have to do? For example, Bhartindu Harishchandra in North India started the process of, okay, there was a lot of Persian, Arabic and Turkish, but now let's re-infuse Sanskrit in what we call now Hindi and make it closer to all of the languages. For example, if you break Telugu down, if you write it in Devanagari, I can read Devanagari and Roman script. If you write it in Roman or Devanagari, 70% of words are Sanskrit and I do understand them. But it's all because of the inflections and all of that, so it's not easy when it is spoken, but if you write it down and break it down, I can understand.
One can understand.
So Sanskrit is that common link. The moment we start moving all our languages closer towards Sanskrit, which South Indian languages are much closer already. If Hindi starts moving towards that direction, nobody will have a problem. For example,
even Tamil today, today's Tamil is 40% is Sanskrit. So it's not that it is not. After the times of Thiruvalluvar and after the times of Bharati, there has been a lot of influence of Sanskrit into the Tamil language.
Yes,
also.
This should have been done.
It's something that connects. Nobody is saying, I'm an advocate of every student being made to learn at least 4 or 5 Bharatiya bhashas very clearly, and not just their, most importantly, their mother tongue or their matrabhasha, but along with that, at least 4 or 5 bhashas which are spoken across the country. Now, where I am coming to is, unless we as a society, as a people, understand the importance of cultural embellishment of the generations, how are we going to stop the Shatru? Because the Shatru's objectives are very clear. Their goals are very clear. It is, we are in the moment of Hanuman forgetting what their ability is. So when is our Jambavan moment?
So if we just have our priorities clear about our own, we are 1 billion people. So if we talk about Hindu society, by any count, we are around 1 billion. It's impossible for 1 billion people to live together without having any fights. For example, take a household with 7 or 8 people, take a household with 4 people, they will have differences between them. That's all right. We resolve them within our own household. If you have a very correct view of like those circles that I showed, that this is the in group, that is the out group, this is the friend group. If we have problems, of course, we will resolve. We are not saying that there are no problems. So if you assume there are no problems, then it's also going to create more problems later on. But if you say that these problems are the only thing you should forget about the outside world, you should just be in your own problems, that is also going to create problems. We should remember the pyramid of priority. That's another graph that I've shown in my book, where at the top should be Dharma and Desh. And then Kshetra, Bhasha, Sampradaya, Kul, Jati, whatever you think, and at last will be individuals. This pyramid should be clear. And the in-group and out-group should be clear. That when an enemy which wants to destroy you is at the gates, you are not going to open up your internal fissures, fault lines, and all the disputes that are there. For that time, they shall be shelved.
But that is the Achilles heel, isn't it? Those fissures are the Achilles heel, because even in the electoral lexicon, even in the political lexicon, even in the demographic lexicon, the Hindu Sampradaya and the Hindu society is the one that is broken down. The non-Hindu societies or communities are not ones that are broken down.
So there are some things to be understood in that. In India, this looks like that. If we see the Middle Eastern world, there are so many fissures in their world also. If you look at the Western world or the Judeo-Christian world, it is said that there are around 24,000 sects in Christianity. Some say even more. But what has happened, what's clear to them, that when it comes to a non-monotheistic sect, we have to convert them. All of them, all 24,000 sects will say, these people have to be converted. So if you have this clarity, you might keep fighting, you might keep resolving. So what are the elevated ways, we should keep resolving at the same time while we are fighting at the border. We should also, pay attention towards civil society. We should also pay attention towards how we come together, how we resolve all these disputes. But at the same time, the pyramid of priorities has to be clear that at no point of time should any one of us, you, him, on any basis like language, state, jati, whatever you are saying, shall collude with the enemy to the detriment of your own brother, of another language, of another state. That shall never happen.
So we're coming to, I know we need to have a longer conversation
Yeah.
on this, but on this one, I'm going to stop here by asking you, what do you think is the biggest threat to Hindu society? When I say Hindu society, here in Hindustan, in Bharat,
Yeah.
what is the biggest threat to Hindu society? The Judo-Christian, thrust, the Islamist thrust,
Yeah.
or the lack of Swayambodha?
I would say the Judeo-Christian threat would be the greatest threat.
Why do
Because
you
the
say that?
Islamist threat at least is extremely visible. It's not very difficult to explain it to your society. But if you go to Northeast, if you go to certain villages in Andhra Pradesh today, what happened in 15 years, it increases not just by force, but by fraud and stealth. And Hindu society largely has a very good view of, Judeo-Christianity. They are just good people, they are not like Islamists, but they are more dangerous because they come by stealth. So I would say the greatest threat is that. Although at the same time, I cannot say that the Islamist threat is not great threat, or like we should not have some both. So any civilizational war is always fought at multiple fronts. You cannot ignore your civil society while fighting a war at the border. Pakistan has forgotten that. It has a very good view of the enemy. But look at what their society is. That society will also not hold for a very long time. It will collapse under its own weight. So we have to solve our own problems. We have to see where there is discrimination or exploitation, we have to end it. Where there is some injustice between two groups, we have to end it. But at the same time, this pyramid of priorities should be clear, and the greatest threat, of course, is the missionary threat, which comes in so many different ways we cannot even imagine.
But we are all allowing them, because they say from times immemorial, the doors to our homes have opened inward, the doors to our temples have opened inward, the doors to our forts have opened inward. So unless somebody opened it from within inside,
Yes, they would
these
not.
forces
they
can't
could not
make
have
their
come
way in.
Yes, very true.
Well, so amazing. I'm going to have a full read of this book, Pankaj. I've just started reading it. The cover itself is very beautiful, and it's descriptive itself, and somewhere gives us a understanding of what you're trying to portray here. And this conversation has been very engaging.
Thank you.
Look
Thank you so
forward to many more. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.